Hey guys, Pedro here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Accept to Mean to Die, out January 15th on Nuclear Blast. This album has 11 tracks, 52 minutes in length, and this is the band's 16th full-length studio album. The legends are back and they're kicking off the year in the best way possible with a new record. And speaking of kicking off, this album also kicks off in the best way possible with Zombie Apocalypse, a song that gives you a glimpse into the overall structure of the record, into the dynamic soundscape that this album has, and it's opened the doors for you, the listener, in order for you to connect with the record and stay engaged throughout the whole entire listening experience. So this song is the best way possible to get this record started because it's definitely one of the more driven, one of the more dynamic, one of the more powerful songs on the album. But as you progress from that song into the rest of the record, you start to feel like this is an album that doesn't offer you a roller coaster ride. And it's also not an album that has a classic structure. And what I mean by that would be an album that's divided into two, with the first half being very powerful, a break in the middle with a ballad, and then becoming powerful again for that second half of the record. That's not what you're going to get from this album. Once you make it out of Zombie Apocalypse, you start to feel like this is a record that alternates tracks, alternates styles, so you get more driven songs followed by more methodic tracks, heavier, slower, not necessarily ballad, but definitely more methodic in their approach, and then it alternates back again to a more driven song. So it has this bumpy ride, if you will, as you progress through it, with not having songs that really break apart and being really intense peaks and very deep valleys. So it's a very balanced record from an overall soundscape, because by the end of the record, you get this feeling that the album didn't really change too much from song to song, and that is because of how they put the tracks together. It's how they created the track list and the overall structure of the album. Having said that, I still felt that the album was a little bit divided into two halves. If you look at the first half of the album, you feel that this alternation of tracks is really in the forefront. It's very noticeable in its approach, and it becomes almost a pattern. In the second half of the record, you have a ballad and you have an instrumental track that closes off the album. Having these two songs at the end of the record was a little bit of a surprise. I was expecting that perhaps you would have one in the first half and one in the second half, but not both of them in the same portion of the album. So when you start to look at the big picture and you start to see the trees from the forest, you start to feel that perhaps the album is a little bit unbalanced as far as the overall structure is concerned. But when you listen to the record and you realize how impactful that first half is and how much it grabs your attention, having those two songs in the second half almost go unnoticed as far as the overall feel and vibe that the album has to offer. Now, as far as the soundscape is concerned, I really love the rich sound that this album has. There's a big wall of sound, is warmth, it comes at you, it has layers, and that speaks volumes about the production behind this record. This is a record that has a little bit of a throwback feel, but sounds very modern in how it was put together and how it was recorded. Once you dive deeper into that soundscape, you definitely have to approach the guitars. They are the driving force behind this album. When you look at every single song, even the ones that are more methodic and approach the ballad, all the tracks on this record are really driven by the guitars. Where the guitars goes, that's exactly where the song goes. And you always feel like they're there to add a lot of flair, to add a lot of power, to add a lot of strength, to a lot of layers, combining a lot of force into how the guitars come across, to have a crisp, polished, strong, and yet aggressive sound from front to back. That's what you can expect from the guitars on this record. Another important element of that soundscape is the drums, because I honestly don't feel like the guitars would be as strong, as driven. They wouldn't be on the driver's seat if you didn't have the co-pilot in the drums giving you the directions and giving you that solid base, that solid foundation upon which every single track is built upon. They're not necessarily in the forefront on every single song. They don't play as much of a predominant role as the guitars do, but their work on every single track is absolutely phenomenal and key in order for you to have this rich warmth and big volume style sound across every single song on this album. I also want to touch a little bit on the lyrics, because I thought they were very interesting. They were very different from track to track. They didn't go with one theme or one style or one story. Each song has a different lyrical theme to it. So it's very diverse. This is a very diverse album as far as the lyrics are concerned. The only downside of the lyrics is that at some points you feel like they're a little bit too simple. There's not a lot to them. They feel very simplistic in a way. Now, the negative side of that is that sometimes they feel like they're so simple that you lose interest in terms of what the theme of the song is about. The positive side of it is that they make for very catchy and hooky tracks. And I was not expecting necessarily a Shakespearean style lyrical theme record here from Accept, but some songs feel a little bit mundane. From a lyrical perspective, they don't have a lot of substance in them. But like I said, on the positive side is that they make for very hooky and catchy tracks. So if that's what you're looking for, you're going to be pleased what you're going to get out of this record. Now, last but not least, the vocals. Mark's vocals are spot on. Perfect. Perfect for the sound, perfect for the delivery, perfect for the construction of this album. He gets the most out of every song, and he definitely gets the most out of the lyrics that they put together for this record. He is the cherry on top as far as this album is concerned. Overall, I really enjoyed this record. Now, this is not going to be a record that's going to blow you out of the water. This is not going to be an album that you're going to be absolutely glued to it, that it's going to surprise you, that's going to have things that you weren't expecting from the band. No, this is a very concise, a very cohesive, a very balanced album as far as the soundscape and quality is concerned. So it would be a safe record from the band. This is what I was expecting from them coming in, and this is exactly what I got from them. This will be a record that, while not perhaps setting the world on fire, is definitely going to stay in your playlist for a very long time. Now, as far as songs are concerned, let's start off with Zombie Apocalypse. I mean, I already talked about it, so it's only fair that we start off with this track. Opening track on the album, very driven, very powerful, a lot of strength, a strong wall of sound coming at you. And like I said, this song gives you a glimpse of how they constructed this album from a musical perspective, vocally, but also from an overall track construction. So there's a lot of things that are in this track that are going to permeate throughout the rest of the record. A very energetic song. There's not a lot of changes when you look at the verses and the chorus. It's a song that flows very well from one to the other. Overall, very balanced. The chorus is a little bit more simple, and because it's more simple from its approach and lyrics, it becomes very hooky and very catchy, something that's going to become a predominant factor throughout almost every song on this album. I love the little narrator piece that they did in the pre-chorus. It makes the chorus feel even bigger. It makes the chorus feel even more bombastic because it slows the song ever so slightly, and then it allows the track to absolutely explode into the chorus. A song that's hooky, catchy, and the perfect way to get this album going. Next is Overnight Sensation. This song is interesting from a lyrical content perspective. This is a generational gap track as far as the lyrics goes. If you're from my generation or even an older generation, these lyrics are going to resonate with you 100% about the people now and how you always look for instant gratification. If you're part of this new generation, you're going to listen to this track and you're going to say, oh, a bunch of old folks put this song together. And that's why I call this song a generational gap lyric style track. So it has a dual purpose. Depending on where you are on the spectrum, you're going to get something different out of this song. I enjoy it. It was catchy, it was hooky, it was almost radio friendly. It has a lot of rock and roll elements into it, which adds to the hookiness, into the catchiness that it has. I love the construction of the track, I love the simplicity of the track, and I also love the backing vocals that they used on this song. It makes it more catchy, it makes it more radio friendly, it makes it an absolute earworm of a song. Regardless if you like the lyrics or not, once you listen to this song, it's going to be very difficult for you to walk away from it not singing it. Last but not least, Not My Problem. This is another strong song. I would say a balls to the wall type track, almost a balls to the wall type track. It has a very powerful driven sound. It comes at you, it comes and goes. It's a song that has a little bit of a rock and roll bass, and how the song is constructed, not necessarily from a soundscape perspective, but I felt it was very rock and roll from how it is constructed, from how it comes at you with that stop and go feel that this track has. The chorus is the fuel to the fire. This song feels like it's always building up towards something, and that something is that chorus. And like I said, that chorus is the fuel that burns this fire of this track, that makes the track explode, that makes the track feel heavy, that makes the track feel powerful and driven. The verses are more contained, like I said, has that stop and go motion, and you feel like they're a little bit calm, but you feel like there's something brewing until you get to that chorus and you get that explosion of sound, of strength, of power, of volume. The solos are exactly the same way. The solos add even more fuel to the fire, being very explosive, very melodic, and they reach out, expanding the song, making this a much bigger and larger track than it really is. I love the elements that it has. This is a rock and roll blended heavy metal track, and that's pretty much what you're gonna get out of the whole album, a rock and roll blended heavy metal record. This is it. This is Accept with Too Mean to Die, out January 15th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.